Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com, where we break down common GMP mistakes, inspection risks, and the small control gaps that turn into big observations.
So, let's dive into a bit of a cautionary tale, one that comes straight from the world of quality control. It's all about those hidden dangers, the ones that lurk in data that looks totally fine on the surface. We're going to see why just passing a test is nowhere near good enough. Because the real secret? It's all about spotting those quiet little trends before they turn into a total disaster. All right, picture this. You're in a quality control lab, maybe for a life-saving drug. The latest data comes in for a supercritical batch, and hey, look at that. The stability results are all within the acceptable limits. On paper, everything looks fantastic. No red flags, no alarms going off. Perfect. And this isn't just a one-off. It keeps happening. Batch after batch of this really important drug is passing its stability tests, no problem at all. That kind of consistency, it can give you this powerful but kind of dangerous sense of security. It's so easy to fall into that trap of thinking, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But then, someone with a really sharp eye, someone who's looking beyond that simple pass-fail checkbox, they notice something. It's subtle. The numbers, yeah, they're still perfectly fine, but they're drifting. Slowly but surely, they're all moving in one direction. The system isn't as stable as everyone thought. Something is definitely moving. And that little observation, that's the whole key to this story. It's all about that slow, silent trend. See, this is where the real danger is hiding. It's not in some sudden, catastrophic failure, but in this gradual slide that's just so easy to ignore, right up until it's way too late. So, our sharp-eyed observer, who's part of a more proactive quality assurance team, asks the million-dollar question. They're not just looking at one piece of data, they're seeing the pattern develop over time. They're asking for an out-of-trend evaluation, basically a formal check to see if the data is acting weird compared to how it's behaved in the past. They want to know why this drift is happening. And here it is, the fateful response from quality control. This one sentence, wow, it just reveals a completely reactive way of thinking. It's a philosophy of waiting for the house to burn down before you call the fire department. It's this belief that as long as you're inside the lines, you're totally safe. But as we're about to see, that is a massive, massive gamble. This brings us to a really critical idea. The moment when passing a test is actually a huge sign that your whole system is failing. Let's dig into what happens when that reactive mindset is just allowed to run the show. Well, no surprise here, that silent trend didn't just fix itself. It kept on marching downward, slow and steady, batch after batch, until one day, bam, it didn't pass anymore. It finally hit the specification limit. The big alarm everyone was waiting for finally goes off, but it's way too late now. This wasn't some shocking failure out of the blue. It was an inevitable crash that everyone saw coming but chose to ignore. So let's get crystal clear on what out of trend or OOT really is. An OOT result is not a failure. Let me say that again. It is not a failure. It's still within spec, but, and this is a big but, it's a change from the historical pattern. Think of it as the canary in the coal mine. It is your single best early warning signal that something in their process is starting to drift. This chart just lays out the two mindsets perfectly. The reactive folks, they wait for an out-of-specification or OOS result, an actual failure. Then they're just doing damage control on that one batch. The proactive team, though, they use OOT to spot the drift before it ever becomes a failure. See, this protects not just a single batch, it protects the product's entire shelf life. It changes quality from a simple check into a powerful system of control. And this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet or manufacturing processes. When you really get down to it, this is about something much, much more important. It's about a promise we make to the people who rely on these products. Every single product that leaves the facility carries this unspoken promise. It's a promise to patients that it will be safe and that it will work for its entire shelf life. It's also a promise to regulators that you have your process under control. So ignoring a trend, that's not just bad science. It's breaking a really fundamental promise. And this is why ODT is so incredibly useful. It's a diagnostic tool. A trend could mean all sorts of things, as you can see here. The product itself might be degrading faster than it should, or maybe there's an issue with the packaging, or a drift in the manufacturing process. It could even be a problem with how samples are handled or stored. An ODT investigation lets you find the real root cause before it ever affects a patient. Okay, so we get it. The reactive mindset is dangerous. The big question is, how do you actually build a proactive one? Well, it really comes down to a pretty straightforward 3-step playbook. It all starts with step 1, define. You have to decide before you even start collecting data, what's going to trigger an OOT evaluation? What does a trend even look like, statistically speaking? Then, step 2, trend. This can't be a once-in-a-while thing. It has to be routine. You're constantly monitoring, constantly documenting your data across all your different batches and sites. And finally, step 3, investigate. The moment you spot a trend, you launch a full-blown scientific investigation to get to the bottom of it. And hey, if that promise to patients isn't enough to get you motivated, just remember this. Regulators and inspectors are literally trained to look for these exact kinds of issues. They know that a proactive system is a compliance system. So when an inspector shows up, they're going to want to see the proof. They'll ask for your official procedure, your SOP, for handling OOT. They'll want to see your routine trend reports, and you better believe that if you've ever had a trend, they will demand to see those investigation records. This isn't just busy work. This documentation is the evidence that proves you have a real system of control, not just a system of reaction. And that brings us right back to the final, and honestly, the most important question. This is what it all comes down to. An inspector will look you right in the eye and ask you this. Not do you pass your tests, but how do you detect drift before failure? Your answer to that single question, well, it defines your entire philosophy on quality.
If this helped, like and subscribe.